Hey guys, it's me today. I'm here with the movies I watched in the month of January. I managed to watch 13 movies this month, which is a lot. Like, especially if you've been around on the channel before, you watched these videos before, you know that's a whole lot for me, and I'm honestly really happy with that. And also, I don't give a fuck about continuity, but I'm really warm, so I'm gonna take off my sweater. I apologize. So, the first movie I watched this month is Knives Out, which came out in 2019, and I give 5 out of 5 stars. When a renowned crime novelist, Royal Trearment, is found dead at his estate just after his 85th birthday, the inquisitive and debonair detective Benoit Blanc is mysteriously enlisted to investigate. From Harlan's dysfunctional family to his devoted staff, Blanc sifts through a web of red herrings and self-serving lies to uncover the truth behind Harlan's untimely death. This is one that, even though I was quite excited about it upon its release, that excitement fiddled away a little bit because mysteries just aren't really my thing that much. But over the last year or so, my excitement for it again has risen. So I thought this was the perfect movie to start off the year with, to, start off well. And I definitely did that because I really love this movie, which I don't think I've ever seen a person talk negatively about this movie, so that shouldn't be a surprise. I thought this was a whole lot of fun, and I've watched a movie commentary for this movie, so I knew how it was gonna end and how it would play out and stuff like that. But I still was surprised by the different twists in it, and not necessarily because it was oh my god, I didn't expect this to happen, but just the way it was done was just really well done, and I really like that. I always say that if your movie is ruined by you knowing the ending, it isn't a good movie. So the fact that I still had such a feeling with the reveal, even though I knew what it was gonna be, shows that this is a great movie. I really like the characters. I love a dysfunctional family, and this is a very dysfunctional family. Next up, I watched Encanto, which came out in 2021, and I get 5 out of 5 stars too. And this is a long-ass synopsis, so stick with me. The tale of the extraordinary family, the Madrigals, will live hidden in the mountains of Colombia in a magical house in a vibrant town in a wondrous, charmed place called Encanto. The magic of the Encanto has blessed every child in the family with a unique gift, from super strength to the power to heal every child except one, Mirabel. But when she discovers that the magic surrounding the Encanto is in danger, Mirabel decides that she, the only ordinary Madrigal, might just be her exceptional family's last hope. Do I need to even talk about this movie? Because I feel it's everywhere, and that's also the main reason. No, I was interested in this movie from the beginning, just because it's a Disney movie. But I heard some great hype towards it, even before it was released, excitement on trailers and stuff, even though I didn't watch any. Then it was released in the theaters, and I feel the critics were excited, but the general public didn't really watch it. And it was released on Disney Plus, and all of a sudden everybody was obsessed, and it's everywhere. And honestly, I love that it's everywhere because this is a fantastic movie. I really loved the family dynamic in this. I thought it was well done. Again, every character, even though some are more important to the plot than others, are so well developed, and I feel that's done so well through song, and the songs in this are fantastic, genuinely. I am counting down the days so I can get this on vinyl, because right now I can't find it anywhere in my country. I have seen some places that say it will be released around April here, so I'm genuinely counting down the days because I need this on vinyl so much, because I love the music so much, and I feel that's the big thing. Everybody loves the music, but even besides that, just the whole story is amazing. I was sobbing at the end, which I quite easily, but I it's still a testament to a good movie, and I'm actively sobbing. Then next up, I watched Glee, the concert movie, which came in 2011, and I didn't wait. A concert documentary shot during the Glee Live in Concert Summer 2011 tour, featuring song performances and Glee fans' life stories and how the show influenced them. I wanted to watch this when I originally binged Glee, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and I'm sick, and I was scrolling through Disney Plus because I wanted to watch something kind of mindlessly because I was sick, and I saw that this was on Disney Plus. I was why did nobody notify me? And I watched it, and I had a great time with it. The only thing I didn't really like about this as much was the Glee fans' life stories. I watched concert movies mainly because I want to see the concert, not for all the extra stuff, but I don't mind seeing behind the scenes stuff, especially in a case like this where it's in character, so it's bit acted, I really like that. But then to have like these very long segments around these fans, just I wasn't interested in it. Then the next movie I watched is Yesterday, which came out in 2019, and I give 3 out of 5 stars to. Jack Malek is a struggling singer-songwriter in an English seaside town whose dreams of fame are rapidly fading, despite the fierce devotion and support of his childhood best friend Ellie. After a freak bus accident during a mysterious global blackout, Jack wakes up to discover that he's the only person on Earth who can remember the Beatles. Again, this was what I was really excited for when it was released. Like, there was a lot of advertisements for it here when it came out. I don't know how that went internationally because this is a British movie, so I don't know how that went in like the States and stuff, but there was a lot of advertising here back then, and it always just sounded very interesting to me. I didn't watch it, and it was on TV the other day, and my mom and I watched it because we were both intrigued by it before, and I genuinely quite liked it. It's not a great movie, so I said 3 out of 5 stars because it is a bit cliche, it is a bit forgettable, it's not something I will revisit in the future, but it is still a fun time to watch. I feel like this could have done without the romance in it. I saw it coming from like the very beginning that it was gonna be a romance, and I don't mind romances, but I feel like this also could have been great when it was just like a friendship story. Then next we have The Hating Game, which comes in 2021. I give 5 out of 5 stars to. Resolving to achieve professional success without compromising their ethics, Lucy embarks on a ruthless game of one-upmanship against cold and efficient nemesis Joshua, a rivalry that is complicated by her own growing attraction to him. So The Hating Game is a booktube romance classic, I would say. I read it last year and I quite liked it. I don't love it as much as other people do, but there were some annoyances I had with it, and I didn't even know this was being adapted, and then all of a sudden my entire bookstagram feed was filled of people like raving about the trailer of this, like complaining about the trailer for this. I have to say, people weren't happy. And then the movie came, and then like a couple of weeks later the movie came out. I was just like, wait, I didn't know this was being adapted. All of a sudden we got a trailer, I didn't watch it because I wasn't that interested in it, and then all of a sudden it's out already. And everybody's raving about it, like genuinely everybody's raving about it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I like a good rom-com, I like the book. This can go on. And I didn't. I like this more than the book, which I think is a controversial opinion. Like, even amongst people who do really love this, I feel like most prefer the book. But I really like this. I really like the way they adapted scenes from the book. But I feel like one of my main complaints about the book was that I didn't really like Lucy's inner monologue. I feel like I got very frustrated by her a lot in the book. And of course in the movie, aren't stuck in a monologue. So that's definitely like, because that was my only problem with the book, taking that out just made like a guarantee that I was gonna like this more, especially because it is a very faithful adaptation and I really liked the way it was done. I also believe the ending is different and I quite liked the ending. If I remember correctly, the movie, the book ends like a little bit after the wedding, and I feel like that was a bit abruptly, and this one just had it a little bit longer and I liked it more. Then let's move on to The Eternals, which comes out in 2021, which I get 4 out of 5 stars to. The Eternals are a team of ancient aliens who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years. When an unexpected tragedy forces them out of the shadow, they are forced to reunite against mankind's most ancient enemy, the Deviants. Again, I don't have access to a movie theater, so I had to wait for The Eternals to move to streaming, and I immediately watched it, and I really loved it. I mean, not loved it because it's a 4-star, but I still really liked it. I know there's like very divisive camps on this movie. I fall into the camp that really liked this movie. Basically, what I really liked about this movie is that we have like the present timeline, and then we also like flash back quite a lot to just, because the present storyline is the Eternals are all split up and we're basically getting the gang back together, and then the past storyline is like just like from the moment they came to Earth to like the moment they split up, like different sections of that. And I really liked the way that story was told in that way, because I feel like it gave me the opportunity to understand this group bond while also like introducing me character by character, so I didn't get overwhelmed by just like introducing too many characters at the same time, if that makes sense. And also, like I said before, I like family stories, and even though this isn't like a blood related family, it is still like a found family kind of, and I really like that. I think it also did some great things that can like expand the Marvel universe again, and I do think like the finale was very well done. I thought that was great. The reason why I dug this star is because it is a very long movie, and there were some like dull moments in it where it kind of lost me, and I wasn't as invested in certain parts as I probably should be. So that's why I docked this star, but I still like had a fantastic time with this movie. A little boat and credit scenes had me going. But yeah, moving on to another superhero movie, and that's Spider-Man from 2002, which I give 2 out of 5 stars to. After being bitten by a genetically altered spider, nerdy high school student Peter Parker is endowed with amazing powers to become the amazing superhero known as Spider-Man. You probably know why I'm watching this movie. I can say this now because I finished the entire trilogy. Not the entire trilogy is going to be in this video, but I watched the 3rd one as well in February. And I'm not the biggest fan of Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, which I know is very unpopular because I feel like what I've seen the most is kind of like this consensus of like Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is like the best at both. But I just think Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker just like doesn't have a personality. Like none. Like it's whoa, my glasses just falling off. Okay. That's my biggest problem with this movie as well. Is just I feel like a lot of the, like definitely Peter Parker, but there's also some like other characters just don't feel like they have a personality. And it's just like, I don't know if that's just like 2000s acting or if that's just like the directing with this movie or something. But these characters are so bland and it's so hard to like get invested in them, which makes it harder to get invested in the story as well. I also feel like all 3 movies are just like a little bit too long. There's a big chunk of time where just like nothing happening, and therefore I'm not the biggest fan of them. I didn't hate this movie at all. Like I said, it's a 2 out of 5 stars, which is very valid because I do really like how they tackled the origin story. I know the Spider-Man origin story, I know it, but because I'm only familiar with MCU Spider-Man, I haven't seen it. So I thought that this actually did a great job at doing so, and like this was not in the beginning. I was very invested in the beginning. Like just like once he turned Spider-Man, and I kind of lost it until like the end. The villain, Green Goblin. I know he is like very iconic because of like the acting and being terrifying, and I agree with that, but also very confusing. There's so many elements to the Green Goblin I don't understand. Like what's going on? I don't get it. And also a problem I had with this movie is that there was a couple of time jumps, and I didn't think they were done well. The pacing of this movie just felt very off, and I had a hard time like following it a little bit because of this time jump. Moving on to another very unpopular opinion, I know, and that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came out in 2019, and I give 2 out of 5 stars to. Los Angeles, 1969, TV star Rick Dalton, a struggling actor specializing in westerns, and stuntman Cliff Booth, his best friend, tried to survive in a constantly changing movie industry. Dalton is the neighbor of the young and promising actress and model Sharon Tate, who had just married the prestigious Polish director Roman Polanski. I just think this movie isn't for me. It isn't a bad movie at all. It's just that I really wasn't that interested while watching this movie. Also, this is again one where the pacing just like messed me up. I feel like it was very confusing at times. I just had a hard time like following what was flashback, what was acting, which was present storyline. I had a hard time with that, and I maybe like other people like didn't have that, but I did. All took away from my enjoyment from this movie. And then just like on top of that, it was just boring. I feel like nothing happened in this movie, and at the end it was just like, okay, but what was the point? You know, what was the point of this movie? That was generally just like my thoughts with it. And like I said, it isn't a bad movie. I can definitely understand why other people like this, but it didn't work for me, so that's why I give it 2 out of 5 stars. So let's move on to the next one, which is Flubber, which came out in 1997, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars to. Professor Philip Brainard, an absent-minded professor, works with his assistant Weebo, trying to create a substance that's a new source of energy and that will save Medfield College, where her sweetheart Sarah is the president. He has missed his wedding twice. On an afternoon of his 3rd wedding, Professor Brainard creates Flubber, which allows objects to fly through the air. This is what I watched with my mom, and she kind of like grew up with it. No, this came out when she was 17, so she didn't grow up with it. But she does have some nostalgia attached to this movie, so that's why she wanted to like rewatch it, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it with you, because you know, I wasn't a big fan of it. I feel like, again, this one was just a bit too long. I feel like in the beginning I was very interested in it, and even though like I wasn't liking it too much, I did still have a fun time with it. And then just like towards the ending, I just like didn't care anymore because I was just like, oh my god, this is still going. And I don't think it's even that long of a movie. I stopped giving a fuck, you know? And I feel like this is a very forgettable movie, and I generally don't remember a whole lot from it. The next one is She's the Man from 2006, where I gave 5 stars and is a rewatch. Viola Johnson is in a wheelchair, and complications threaten her scheme to pose as her twin brother Sebastian and take his place at a new boarding school. She falls in love with her handsome roommate Duke, who loves beautiful Olivia, who has fallen for Sebastian. And As if that were not enough, Viola's twin returns from London ahead of schedule but has no idea that her sister has already replaced him on campus. Like late 90s, early 2000s teen movies is my jam. I really love this movie. Like I said, it's a rewatch. And I was watching a video, I don't remember which one, but they talked about like 2000s teen movies, and they talked about this one amongst many others. But they were talking about this one, I was like, oh my god, I haven't seen it in a while, I want to rewatch it. So I did. And I really love it again. I really love this. And that's all I got to say about it. It's just a whole lot of fun. If you love like 2000s teen movies, you'll probably love it as well. Then next, I watched Spider-Man 2, which comes in 2004. I give 2 out of 5 stars to. Peter Parker is going through a major identity crisis, burnt out from being Spider-Man. He decides to shelf a superhero alter ego, which leaves the city suffering in the wake of carnage left by the evil Doc Ock. In the meantime, Parker still can't act on his feelings for Mary Jane Watson and girl he's loved since childhood. First off, why didn't nobody tell me that Elijah Michelson was in this movie? Because otherwise, I would have watched this way sooner. I like this more than the first one. I don't know how popular of an opinion it is. I'm not that well versed on the Spider-Man rankings, but I really like this more than the first one. I know it's the same rating, but that's because I still had similar issues. Like I still feel like some of the characters are very personality-less. I hated MJ in this one. I do. And I hate how it grows more in the third one. So look forward to that in February, like in March. It's February now for my February video. But I really love Doc Ock. I thought he was a more interesting villain than the Green Goblin, which I do know is unpopular, but I really like that. I really liked him. I also really liked the storyline with Peter like giving up his alter ego, like struggling with the balance between like being Peter and being Spider-Man, and like deciding to give that up, and also like struggling with his powers because of it. Like I thought it was very interesting, and I thought that was really well done. And it's not something I've seen in like superhero movies or TV shows, so I thought that was very interesting. But I feel like a lot of my thoughts on this are like the same as the first one, so I feel like I don't need to repeat myself too much. Then the next movie I watched is Royal Treatment, which came out in 2022, and I gave 2 out of 5 stars to. Isabella runs her own salon and isn't afraid to speak her mind, while Prince Thomas runs his own country and is about to marry for duty rather than love. When Izzy and her fellow stylist get the opportunity of a lifetime to do the hair for the royal wedding, she and Prince Thomas will learn that taking control of their own destiny requires following their hearts. I honestly, when I first went to Letterboxd, like when I finished it, I rated it to write my review. I always do the rating first and then I start writing my review. And first I had this rated as a 3-star, then as I was writing my review, I was like, ooh, there are so many more negatives than I thought, and I knocked it down to a 2-star. So there you go. I had a fun time watching this movie. Just that once it was done, I realized like, oh, it wasn't good. So that's why my rating changed. But it's a fun time. It's a fun rom-com. It's not one that you actively while watching despise it, but it's just like when you go back, it's like, oh, there are so many problems. So many. Like the main one being the romance not being that well developed. So they do have like cute moments together, but I feel like that could have been a little bit more development there. But I feel like there's a lot of chemistry between the actors, and I feel like this movie leaned too much on that rather than actually like developing a romance there. I also feel like there were just like some like slow moments in it as well. Basically any scene where the love interests aren't like the two main characters aren't together, it's like very dull. And there are also just like a lot of like not necessarily plot threads, but just like elements introduced in this movie that never end up going anywhere and like aren't resolved at all. And I just felt like, why did you introduce them even if you're not going to do anything with it? And then lastly, finally, I've never talked this line about movies, I apologize. We have Tick Tick Boom, which comes in 2021. I give 5 out of 5 stars too. On the cusp of his 30th birthday, a promising young theatre composer navigates love, friendship, and the pressures to create something great before time runs out. I really love this, which I wasn't expecting to love this as much because most of the hype I've seen for this movie has come out of like the theatre community as well, and I'm just not that familiar with that world, and it comes from like excitement of like catching references and stuff like that, and I don't know about those things. So I was a bit nervous that I wasn't gonna like have this deep love for it as a lot of other people seem to, but this movie is just absolutely brilliant. So like I don't understand how other people just like wouldn't have a connection to it. It's so good. Again, the music in it is fantastic. It's so good. I also really like how it is like a balance of like the character of Jonathan, I guess. It feels weird calling him a character because it's a real person, but like him like being on stage and doing like this stage production of Tick Tick Boom, which was a real thing, and that like mixing with like real life stuff, and I thought how that was really well done. I also really liked the like cinematography, I guess, on some of like the musical numbers. I thought that was really well done. I really love this movie. I think everybody should watch it if you haven't already. And again, it's just like Encanto. This is one, like, if you haven't watched it yet, watch How You Doing, because like everybody has been raving about this. That's all I have to say. I've almost been talking for 40 minutes. Damn. I don't even do wrap-ups of our books this long anymore. But I hope you still really enjoyed this video. And yeah, I already watched 2 movies in February, so it's also gonna be a wild ride. I can already feel it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.